Hi, welcome to On the Couch, Conversations with Brenda Ford. Please take the time to comment below, like us, and subscribe. Today's guest is Addae Moon. Addae Moon is an Atlanta-based playwright, dramaturg, director, and cultural worker. He is the Associate Artistic Director at Theatrical Outfit, an artistic associate with Found Stages Theater, and a co-founder of the performance collective Hush Labor Lab. He received his BA in Theater Arts from Clark Atlanta University and an MFA in playwriting from the Professional Playwrights Program at Ohio University. Addae is also a member of Literary Managers and Dramaturg of America, LMDA, and the Fence Network. Welcome, Addae.
How are you?
I am well. I'm so honored and happy to have you here with us today. So I guess I'm going to start with your new position at Theatrical Outfit. Tell me
Yeah,
about that, how it came about, and all of that.
yeah, it's very new. I'm actually in my second month, so it's real new. It was interesting. I'd been at the Atlanta History Center as the director of performance-based interpretation, which is a fancy title for like a person that does museum-based theater. And so I was writing and directing shows for the museum, and for almost a decade. So that'd been my day gig for about 9.5 years. And I, thoroughly enjoyed the work that I was doing and enjoyed the institution itself. But then two friends sent me the information about the position at TO, and I was like, I sort of vowed not to do another theater gig ever again in my life. So, but I saw the description for associate artistic director, and it was different than most of the ones that I've seen. Usually, it's a person that directs the additional shows and does the casting, but this is really framed as a person who would focus on some new play development initiatives that they wanted to institute, and also do some sort of community-based, like really like serious, intentional community-based programs. And so new play development and community-based programs are things that I'm very passionate about. So I was like, wow, this is a different take on that position. Let me just go ahead and apply. So I applied in September. It was a very long application process and multiple interviews and that sort of thing. And they offered me the position in late November, and I accepted. So yeah, so it's been interesting. I've done arts administration as a literary manager at Horizon for a couple of years, but this is a totally different ballpark for me. And so I'm enjoying, coming in via Zoom and learning, and also really trying to deal with the challenges of doing any kind of theater in the midst of a pandemic. So, but yeah, no, it's again, it's like the second month in. It's been really exciting so far.
Well, I'm very happy for you, and I'm very excited about what you will do with this position. I met you, I believe, when you were dramaturging, maybe it was at the Alliance. I believe you were
I
doing.
might have been doing something at the Alliance, but actually, you met me long.
Yeah, really?
Oh yeah,
no. I'm horrible about those things.
You met me as a student when I was at Clark, but that was a long time ago, so I don't expect you to remember that. But I think we'd come to see a show that you were in that was written by Dr. Holmes about these two women, and it was in the small. I can't remember what the performance.
Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. You're not even that old, man.
Oh no, I am that old. But yeah, so I think that was the first time I met you. But again, I was still in school. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I was wrong about that. But you did some dramaturgy work, and so dramaturgy is an interesting position, field, thing. I don't even know what to call it. Because for so many years I didn't know it existed, and then I was like, what is it? Wait a minute, it's research. No, it's right. No, it's what? So talk to me about what it is for those people who would like to explore that.
I mean, dramaturgy is a lot of things. So dramaturgy as a thing is something that everybody in the theater is involved in, from actors to designers to playwrights, of course, and directors. It's basically dealing with the nuts and bolts of a text and really analyzing it, unpacking it, seeing what levels and layers of meaning and idea and image and metaphor are existing in this text. So it's work that anybody and everybody in the theater does. Um, but as a field of study, there are usually two main routes, actually a third one, which is dance dramaturgy, which is fairly new and very interesting. But the two main routes are usually production dramaturgy, which is the research and kind of nuts and bolts thing for a show that's in production. So that's the person that collects the information about the time period, about the style of the piece, about previous productions. And that person meets with the designer and the director in a pre-production meeting to give them some insight, and then maybe meet with the director and the actors in the early rehearsal process to give them some insight from two different vantage points. So that's, production dramaturgy. What I mostly do is new play development dramaturgy. And that's working with a playwright and a director on developing a new piece of work. And really, and I think the main job that a development dramaturg does is ask questions, a lot of questions, and asking questions from the playwright, with the end goal being helping or guiding the playwright into writing the story they want to write. Yeah, I'm just a person that is the first audience for the text, and I'm throwing all these questions at the playwright to help them shape it as it develops and evolves.
So
Yeah.
I've got a question. If you're doing production dramaturgy, there would be some people who would say, if the set designer's doing the research and the costume designer's doing the research and every person involved behind the scenes and the actors are all doing research, what's the need for a production dramaturg?
Well, ideally, if it's structured correctly, and it's rarely structured correctly in American theater, but the production dramaturg would essentially give the initial seeds for the research for the individual people. These are the things you want to focus on, and these are some possible resources. Go do that work. So they essentially help to frame the research process for the director and the designers in pre-production, and for the actors and the director during the production. Also, too, when it's a really organized situation, you have like a dramaturg that's affiliated with a theater, a lot of times they will be in most of the early rehearsals of the process to field any questions the director or the actors might have in the rehearsal process as well.
So, and then in terms of new development, and as an individual dramaturg, you of course ask the questions, but aren't there organizations that ask questions too?
Yeah,
Like Working Title, uh,
yeah.
does that organization serve as a dramaturg or?
Yeah. So Working Title has an interesting structure. I've been working with them for years, both in their individual kind of small meetings, and also during their Wilson Lab, which is a week-long development process. So yeah. So there are a lot of different dramaturgs that they actually send out or hire out to work with individual playwrights. But they also have specific programs. They have a Monday night critique session, which is playwrights bringing in scenes from plays they're working on, and the entire group giving them feedback. Then they have the Ethel Wilson Lab, which is a week-long development laboratory that has the director, dramaturg, playwright, and a cast of actors, and they're dealing with that text for like 5 or 6 days, and then they have a reading at the end. Then they have this table reading series that they also do. So yeah, they're one of the local organizations that that actually provide that sort of dramaturgical assistance in various fashions. I also started a company with a good friend of mine, Amina McIntyre, called Hush Harbor Lab. And what we do is that we're really focusing on new play development, specifically for Black artists based in Atlanta. especially those who want to do really kind of experimental and kind of out there daring work. And our whole idea is to have a week-long development process, working with a couple of playwrights each season, and really kind of cultivating this brave space for them to experiment and to take chances. Because a lot of times, especially for Black playwrights, we don't get a chance to really take chances or risk. Everything's about, you know, the bottom line of the production, and so we want to provide a space where, you know, you could play, you could fail, you can experiment, you can make some mistakes, and it's all a part of developing, you know, hopefully a daring new piece of theater from a local Black playwright.
So how would a playwright get involved with Hush Harbor?
Oh, I mean, they can simply contact us. I mean, this is our first full year as of last month. We've done 3 projects this year. We have 4 projects planned for the next season already, but they can simply, you know, contact us on the website if they're interested, and we can definitely put them in the next round of for our 3rd season. So yeah, we initially just reached out to people that we knew first, and then we really want to expand it and open it more to the community as we get a stronger foundation and do more work.
I think that's really great. You know, there's so many opportunities out there for playwrights, but I think it's really nice to have people of color that are working with your pieces. You know.
Yeah, you know, and that's the really important thing about, you know, dramaturgy too. Is like, as we, you know, as we become more conscious as a society and as a community of artists, it's like, you know, we really have to think about the specificity of certain voices. Like, you know, some plays need a dramaturg from a certain culture, or, you know, a certain, you know, gender identification or certain sexuality, depending on what the piece requires. And so it helps to have dramaturgs that represent the voices of the characters and the playwright that the piece creates. So I think that's really crucial. And there are dramaturgs out there who sort of represent all those identities.
So I think with the climate of our times, the particularly the racial climate of our time with theater, I think there are more and more opportunities opening up, more and more organizations that are developing to support the 53% of African American and or people of color artists. And I think that that's really wonderful because it's about time, you know.
It's about time. It's been a long time coming.
So with that in mind, how do you think Atlanta theater will adapt and change with all of these new entities, or will it?
You know, that's interesting, because I've been asking myself that question quite a bit. um, so I mean, if you look at I guess the sort of pattern of what happened over the last year, um, you know, you had that fascinating and I think hilarious article that New York Times did that kind of called out the entire Atlanta theater community, and not even call them out, but like really address facts that those of us who've been in for a while have known, that this is a predominantly Black city, and that reality is not reflected by the narratives that are presented on stage in the city. And that's true. It wasn't a surprise to any of us.
Right.
So, you know, that happened. And, you know, then of course, you know, the virus happened and the pandemic. And then you have this kind of, you know, racial awakening, and everything is up in the air. And you have a lot of artists, both, you know, nationally and locally, really speaking out about inequities that have been in existence for a while. And a lot of theaters making attempts, some genuine, some like not so genuine maybe, to try to address those issues. And so all that's happened in the past couple of months and is great. I also think it's new. And being a student of the theater, but in particular, Black American theater, we've been here before. So the thing that's interesting to me is to really see how once we get this virus under control and theaters open up, how much of that change will actually occur once things return to some sort of not normalcy, but some when we're able to gather together again. What is exciting is that I do think that there's a younger generation who is tired,
Mhm.
and they're probably too young to be tired, but they're tired, and they're going to speak out if things haven't changed. So that's exciting and that's interesting. Also, though, and this is the other part of me that that this is the Addae about to turn 50 part of me. That's like, but y'all, we also have to really make sure that as much energy as we are putting in to ensure equity in predominantly white institutions, we need to be putting as much energy into supporting and building and cultivating Black institutions. And I think that's really, really important. And I hope that that does not get lost in this kind of struggle that's happening. Because I think at the end of the day, while I'm working at a white institution, I've worked at white institutions. I enjoy collaborating. I don't even call it working. I call it collaborating with white institutions. I enjoy it. I'm also a person that comes from a tradition of Black institutional creative work. And I think that has value and that is important and that needs to be both supported. And I think that it needs to be cultivated and that we need more, especially in a city like Atlanta.
Well, the same thing happens in theater that happens in schools. There's
Right.
not the funding in Black organizations or Black
Hmm.
schools that you have in predominantly white or, uh, you know, organizations and schools. And so, you want to be a part of this Black organization, but you know that being a part of this Black organization has its limitations financially. And
Right.
so
Right.
you kind of go, let me go to this white organization that has more money, can pay me more, has
Right.
more money to explore different things. Because if all I can do is put a couch on the stage and call it the living room, but I can go to another institution as a set designer and design walls and that fold and flap and then fly and do all this kind of stuff. I want that experience. That
Right. Right. Which is why I think one of the big fights is about the funding. It's about ensuring that these Black institutions have that equitable funding because the problem is and Heather Infantry made a brilliant argument about that this summer, that the funding for Black institutions has never been equitable. And that is really where we need to start demanding that changes happen. In addition to, fighting for equity in predominantly white spaces. But again, I think it should be in addition to.
right.
I think, there should be battles happening on both of those fronts.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the pandemic and the fact that everything is Zoom. I mean, we're sitting in having our
Right.
interview and not even on camera, on Zoom. You
On
know,
Zoom.
yeah.
Right.
Everything is either Zoom or Yard Stream or blah blah blah, but it's all on the computer.
Mm.
And I wonder once we get back to real world, how will that affect our theater?
It's interesting. So there are some people that feel, or not even feel, there's some people are ready to get off of digital platforms and go back into sharing the same space with each other. And I know I am, and I think that's great. But I feel that the digital platform's not going anywhere. I think it will be us going back to live performance and also having some sort of consistent digital programming. And I think it's important for a number of reasons. The main reason is that I know I was able to see shows that I would not have been able to go and see on Zoom because they were being streamed or they were being streamed on YouTube. Um, so I do think, like even the three shows that Theatrical Outfit is producing in the spring. I mean, they're not Zoom readings, which we've all gotten used to.
Right.
They're actually they're actually going to be filmed, edited pieces that are going to be streamed digitally. So they will have the production values of any stage production that you would see. You would just see them streamed from your laptop or from your television if you were able to get your TV attached to it. So I do feel like a lot of theaters are going to maintain some sort of digital aspect to their seasons moving forward. And I know for some of the new play development stuff that we've been doing, it's been really great, to be able to do these readings and development pieces via Zoom, because a lot of people are in different locations.
Right.
And it's been real great, to have people watching something and they're out of the country. They're in the Caribbean and they're watching something or reading that you're doing in Atlanta. So I don't think the digital element is going anywhere. I think it's going to be, some kind of digital component as well as the live, bodies in the same space component once things get back to normal. The great thing is that I think there was a moment, maybe for a couple of months, where people were like, "Theater's dead, it's over." But I mean, it's one of the oldest art forms there is. It's not going to go anywhere. And I do think, trying to look at a positive aspect of a horrible pandemic, I I I feel like maybe we needed the downtime to reevaluate some things,
Mhm.
and hopefully, when we come back together, sharing the same space, we'll be able to appreciate the sacredness of that.
So, do you have any new writings that you are working on?
I just actually left a rehearsal for a piece I'm doing with Found Stages, the sort of kind of immersive Zoom escape room sci-fi piece that we're doing for this science festival. That it was our first time hearing the pages today, and it sounds like it's going to be really fun. So there's that. I'm working on some personal pieces uh, with Hush Harbor. And trying to get the feel of this new position, and really excited about um the idea of Atlanta becoming this mecca for new work. Oh, and I'm also doing I forgot about it. I have a commission piece with True Colors that'll be debuting in a couple of weeks in mid-March.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So, but I think right now is a really exciting time in the city for new work. I know True Colors has a bunch of new work programs. Uh, TO will start launching theirs as we get further into this year. Working Title is always doing something. So yeah, I think people. It seems like for the first time in a long time in the city, people are really excited about doing new work and creating and incubating new work in
Yeah, and I
Atlanta.
I think that part of that comes from having to do things on Zoom and
Yeah,
needing to have work that you didn't have to pay, Samuel French royalties for.
the, the royalties and rights and union issues have been a big deal, with digital programming, and again, and like you said, I think it's really forced people to be like, oh, what if we do something original?
Wow, what an original
Wow,
idea.
what a queen idea. so so yeah,
Yeah, and I've always liked original works. You
yeah,
you work
yeah.
through stuff, you find
I
out.
mean, you've always done like Impact has always produced a lot of original work.
We've tried. I think people need a chance, and um, the several of the pieces that I've produced that have been new have been by older people, which
And I mean, I think that the theater needs that diversity of voices and experiences.
Yes.
I think that's necessary, and I think that's what's that's what's missing on most stages. This range of experiences and voices and perspectives.
So do you teach playwriting?
Yeah. So for years, I was along with Marguerite Hanna, was working with a lot of young playwrights and actors at Horizon Theater's apprentice program. So I worked with and that's I also teach 2 courses at Clark. But yeah, I mean, teaching, helping, mentoring, guiding, dramaturging for young playwrights is something that I'm really passionate about, because they're the future of the art form. And I think it's important that, I was blessed to have 3 really amazing mentors, who helped light the path for me. And I think, once you become a person of age, I feel like it's necessary to pass that baton on to the future generations. And so, it's something I take really seriously, and I really love doing.
That's one thing I like about Clark Atlanta is there's always been this feeling of let's pass this on. I really feel at Clark Atlanta that everybody really is trying to teach so that you can give to the young people so that they can give
So
and
that they can do.
yeah, so they can
I mean,
lead.
the yeah, I mean, the reason I came back and taught is because I felt I was obligated to, because I learned so much from Joan Lewis and Carol Mitchell Leon and Gary Yates. I mean, those 3 guided me on my path, and each offered me something completely different. um, but so because of that, I feel a certain responsibility to the students there now because of my experience there as a former student and an alum. Yeah, I think it's a program that's always valued, not just the craft but also the profession. Um, I was blessed to have teachers who were working artists and who kind of told me, this is what you need to do if you're going to do this professionally. A lot of programs don't have that, so, and that's always been the case at Clark.
I think that that's true. A lot of programs don't. You learn your school knowledge, and then you got to try to figure out what real life is. So you dramaturg, you write, you playwright, you direct, you do administrative work.
Yeah.
You do everything. Um, what do you like best?
Oh God. Um, I mean, I will always be a writer before anything else. At the end of the day, I'm a writer who really enjoys working with writers, which is why I do dramaturgy. Um, I'm a writer who really enjoys plays and text and unpacking them, which is why I direct. I mean, for me, it all goes back to the text and the words on the page. So I think at the core, and like, when I was an actor who loved words. So yeah, it's all about the script for me. So I think at my core, I have always been and will always be a writer. I think at some point, in your creative practice, I think that respect for all of those elements starts to merge at some point. I think for everyone. Um, it definitely did for me. Like, even though I don't perform anymore, I still sit back and watch actors with a certain kind of awe because I'm like, wow, I know how hard that is. And when they really nail it, it's a beautiful thing to witness.
Are you opposed to acting again?
I've been thinking about it off and on. I took this Chubbuck class. This was 2 years ago, so it's pre-pandemic. Um, if I did, it would probably be TV and film because I want that check.
Uh,
um, but taking the class was great because I hadn't done any scene work in years, and I forgot how much I enjoyed that. So now because again I'm a certain age now and I'm a certain type. I feel like at some point I might go play in the sandbox a couple of times and see how I feel about it again.
What haven't you done that you would like to do?
So this is interesting because because it's actually kind of related to performing. Um, I've always had an absolute love and obsession with performance art, and I had the honor of working uh, with Danielle Deadwilder on one of her pieces that she did for Synchronicity, and it was a performance piece that was beautifully shot and beautifully done. Um, and I was talking to some friends. I was like, man, that kind of bug for that kind of work, that kind of like, edgy, experimental, not necessarily needs to happen in a theater. Like that was the stuff that excited me when I was a young artist. And so there's a part of me that really wants to venture out and do some of that kind of work again because it's been a long time.
So, if you had to give words of wisdom to the community, to young people, to whatever, what would it be?
Mm. Um, I would say like never underestimate the both the power and the sanctity of the imagination and how important engaging in your imagination and engaging in some sort of artistic practice, like how that is for your soul. I mean, as a working artist is one thing because there is that kind of economic aspect of it, but how important art and story and imagination and narrative, is to your soul. I think one of the things that's become really clear to me during the pandemic is that we need story. We need story. We need stories because they help us. They give us a blueprint on how to live our lives, and they also give us some respite for the challenges we have in our individual lives. So yeah, value the importance of story and find some way to engage in it.
Yeah, well, I think Atlanta has a really think that we have the opportunity in theater, as you said, with new works, but also just in general. I think we really have an opportunity here in Atlanta with all the creativity, with
Hmm.
all the new energy to really explode, to really grow and become the place.
As a famous Atlantan said, Andre 3000. I mean, the South has something to say, and I do think we've been able to do it in the music field. I don't think anyone would question that, but I do think that we've just scratched the surface of what we can do in the performing arts, especially theater. And I think people value it. I always say that uh, when I first came to the city and I was seeing theater, I had no desire, and I love TV and film, but I had no desire necessarily to do TV or film because there were so many amazing actors on stage that I would see on a regular basis. And I was like, I want to do that, you know, I want to tell those stories. I want to have that kind of impact on people in a shared space. But I agree. I think, Atlanta, I think the pump is primed for like a real explosion of somebody amazing live storytelling in the city.
Your words, your words, may they come true. Yes.
Yes, they will. They will. They will.
So if you have enjoyed watching this interview, please make sure that you subscribe. You can comment below. You can like us. Please do that. That helps us. Thank you so much, Addae.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have nothing but love for you, brother. And
Likewise.
I'm so excited for you and all that is going to happen in your life and in the theater life because of you.